Well, one of the things we mentioned was Reiki, okay?
Yes.
So I've been teaching Reiki, I don't know, maybe over 30 years. I have no idea how long it's been. But that is something, wanting to answer Shenn Thomas, who sent in when you requested if anybody has anything they wanted me to riff about. And he was said something about how has Reiki affected my life, and how has 9-day medicine wheel affected my life. And it's, well,
and tarot, I believe, as well.
Okay, it's been major. And so Reiki, the radiant energy of the sun. The keys to universal life energy. Reiki. It's a beautiful mantra. Reiki, Reiki, Reiki. Okay. And then Shenn also did this wonderful little booklet. And he designed a martial art called Reikido. And this book is Reikido Warrior. And this little book, which one can get from Shenn, is in 3 sections. He's talking about meditation and chi cultivation, Reiki healing, and the 18 Reikido projection drills. So, and he has done a fabulous job. These are like what his 18 drills look like, And then at the beginning of the book, by the way, he made my business cards for me. It's really, really lovely. And he does such a fabulous job. And then at the beginning of this little booklet is where he talks about his teachers. And I'm there, and he talks about meditation, and Reiki, and how beneficial it is for all of us. And basically, it can be either hands-on or hands-off healing, energy exchange. And I know that for me, it's probably one of the big reasons I'm still on the planet, because every time I've gone into surgery or anything, I have used the different symbols as mantras over and over and over, as well as all my prayers. Right now, Spirit, I surrender my entire life to Thee. I am your woman. I'm your instrument. What is it you would have me do? What is it you would have me be? And there's little Tea-Meister.
Speaking of Reiki.
Okay, do you want up here? Do you want up here, baby? Yeah, okay. Little tiny guy. Little tiny guy. Okay.
Here you go.
Oh, thank you.
There he goes.
Thank you.
There he goes.
There you go, baby boy. There you go, my little baby boy. My little baby boy. Oh, can you tell I'm an animal nut? This is the best little guy. My sweet friend Francis Garcia brought him over one day, and he had followed her granddaughter around the block when she was walking, and he didn't seem to have any place to go. So they took him in, but they did spend a few weeks attempting to find an owner or something, and he had a really ratty collar on, no chip, and he was skin and bones. His little ribs stuck out. And then I found a tumor on his jaw. So I took him in and got everything done, and he's been my little baby ever since. And he does Velcro to me, And I don't know if I've mentioned this, but he has 3 names Okay, Chi when he's in his normal frame of mode. Barishnikov when he goes potty because he does his little arabesque moves. And then Cujo. He doesn't seem to like men, and especially young, tall, fast moving males. He'll go after them, try to either bite their pant leg or pee on it. You naughty little child, you.
So, Lilli,
Yes.
how would you describe Reiki to someone who doesn't know anything about it? So, back when I first met you and I was just coming out of Mormonism and you're like, there's this thing called Reiki.
Reiki, yes. I basically look at it as the energy that has always been here. It has, like when we talk about fifth element, the Egyptians talked about Ra, the sun god, that this energy, whether it be like Christ consciousness, helping to restore the balance the time is now. And that's what I feel like. It's an energy transference. And just like you have massage, but with Reiki, you don't even have to touch the person or go into their energy field. You don't have to take their energy on, and just, it's a wonderful thing if for no other purpose than to relax, meditation, chill, and help restore things, help kick things into balance, restoring the balance. The time is now. I think that's been my theme forever, and I think that something we're constantly working on is our balance. So does that kind of put that in a nutshell?
Yeah, and so I'm curious about, I don't think I've ever asked you your personal journey with Reiki, of how did you discover it, who did you train with, so that now it's become such a key part of your life.
Okay. I wound up, years ago, making friends with a beautiful black woman named Vanita, and I'm trying to remember her last name, and she came and stayed in my home for a while, and one day I was just soaking in the tub, relaxing, and doing some meditation, and I got the aha, darling, it is really time for you to embrace being a priestess for the goddess, okay? And the goddess has returned, and she is pissed. Mother Earth goddess, okay. And also, it would be a good thing for you to learn Reiki, and you would be able to benefit a lot of others just from this one particular teaching, learning.
And had you kind of just heard about it before?
Yes, and I had had other students who had done Reiki. And I'm always a bit skeptical. I really want to check things out. Just because people do something doesn't mean I want to embrace it. So I took my time. And then when I realized that I had a Reiki master living in my spare bedroom, how about if we do a fair exchange of energy here? And so we did. And she's the first person that began to teach me about Reiki. And since then, there have been others. I went to Colorado Springs. I went to Paris, just different places, and started learning and embracing different elements of it. And then I wound up actually creating my own classes, my own private little Reiki school, Reiki study, you know. Because I pulled together the things that I learned from the 3 or 4 different masters that I studied with. And I know that everybody used to talk so much about lineage and what's your lineage and do. Well, I came from la 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 la, so, you know, and it's like, no. Vanita had learned directly from someone who had studied under Madame Takata. Okay, and Madame Takata is the person who was credited with bringing it over to the Western world. And she was living in Hawaii, the island of Kauai. And she had gone to Japan, and there she studied with Hayashi, who was a doctor and had studied under Yusui. And so, for all essential purposes, the Reiki that I embrace and teach is called Yusui Reiki.
And Yusui, remind me of the story.
Usui, Yusui. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember the story of, I think he was in meditation or something, and he suddenly rediscovered Reiki, and it had been something that people had used.
Well, the story goes, and whether this is mythology or not, I don't know, you know. But the story goes as he did kind of like a story like Christ up on the mountaintop, 30 days, 30 nights sort of thing, meditation, and that the idea came to him and revisited him, and he wound up knowing Reiki when he came off the mountain, you know. And that, you know, and none of that really matters a whole lot to me. I just kind of take that, okay, you know, I take everything with a grain of salt. It's like, okay, but I just know that whatever he put out there seems to really assist.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's why I, you know, it's like I experiment. Did this work for me? Yes, it did. So will this work for others? Perhaps, you know. But I think it does, at least from all the feedback I've gotten from all of my students over the years.
Mm-hmm. And do you know, I relate with what you're saying about always being a skeptic.
Uh-huh.
So it's now been 20 years that I've been a Reiki master, and I'm always a skeptic. I'm like, what is this going to do?
Right.
You know,
yes.
and I'm sick, and I'm laying in bed, and okay, well, I'll do some Reiki on myself, I guess, but what is this even? And then I'll start doing it, and instantly it's like, whoa, just floating, and a feeling of well-being, clarity, feeling of self-love, love for others.
Peaceful.
Yeah.
And once one is attuned to a symbol, the various symbols, you never lose it, even if you tend not to use it for eons. Mm-hmm. You can come back to it and just recall it up because you've been attuned. And attuned basically means it's been anchored in your being so that you have that as a tool, something to work with.
Mm-hmm.
And it does so many things because it restores the balance, which is a big one for me. And it helps to remove chaotic, traumatic energies. And then one of the symbols, Choku Rei, is the most healing symbol. You know, and I feel that it goes right into the core of our being, right into the core of whatever the cells are made of, to the tiniest, minute neuron, proton, whatever. I'm not that scientific, you know, I know that. But I just know for some reason, just like meditation, it just seems to really open me up. It seems to open up others also.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've had so many interesting responses from people. Everything from just, oh, thank you, that's very nice, to sobbing and crying and laughing hysterically. So it's like, whatever the, client does is perfect. Whatever, it's not for me to say that they can't have those emotions, those feelings. No, whatever it is. And oftentimes there's a big release. And people use it a lot for back pain. Yeah, okay.
And so, so with Reiki, so there's the basic idea that there's this kind of universal life force energy.
Yes, universal life energy, correct.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And it flows through everyone.
Right.
And everyone has access to it.
Yes.
And as someone that's learning Reiki, you're basically just opening up yourself to remembering or accessing something that you know.
Yes.
And then there's symbols and there's mantras that go with each symbol.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about what those are, what their purpose is?
Well, the Reiki, I consider that just to be a mantra to draw the energy to you. Okay? Then the very first symbol is called Seiheki. And it basically means, Seiheki 1 basically means opens and balances on all levels. Mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual. So that we have these 4 body levels. And in order to be in balance, we have to be basically in balance with all 4 body levels. Then we have Seiheki 2, which is about removing chaotic, traumatic energies. And that's when you walk into a room and you can just feel the energy bouncing off the walls and that people have just been in confrontation or whatever. And you don't have to address it. You don't have to make an issue out of it. You can just get quiet. And in your own way, just send energy for balance. Just send, Seiheki. And just be quiet. People don't have to know what you're doing. You don't have to make a display of anything. And just quietly, just send that energy out. And just watch things change. It's really amazing how things just mellow and change. Then there is Choku-rei, which is the most healing symbol, and that's the one where I talk about spiraling into the center of the shield. I feel like we all have, you know how in Europe they have family crests, the family shield? I think we actually all have something of that nature. The shield. And there's all sorts of things in our families of origin. I think Ancestry.com is really fun to play with. I played with it. I just think, but when you're working with everything that's come down from your ancestry, and then what's going forward, and you can do that with Choku-rei, and it's like 7 lineage, 7 backwards, 7 forward, and who knows, maybe somebody in your family was a horse thief and you need to clean that energy up so that you don't have that sort of energy. Or maybe they were a wonderful princessa, wonderful, thank you, and wanting to have that energy about you also. Okay.
Is that something you can use also then for pre-paving? Kind of that Abraham thing I think you were talking about last week of setting the intention for the future of the energy you want to be stepping into?
Yes, of course. Abraham I love the law of attraction. And then the law of deliberate creating and the law of allowing. The law of allowing. And allowing things to unfold. Not having to dictate to the divine. You know, that's why I've been saying that recently my prayer has been, may my will be thy will. You know, so that I can get my own self out of the way and out of the picture and embrace the mind of the divine. So yes, I do think that we can, as you called it, pre-paving, you know, setting your intention. Because we can say, like Esther Hicks was talking about going through a magazine and tearing out an advertisement for a rug that she liked and wanted. And no sooner had they gotten home from their trip than they had a promotion in their mailbox for this same particular rug. And she was excited because look how fast this happens, you know. And it's like, yeah, these things do happen. Also, I think that we have to be cautious what we do put out there and what we do really want, because we wind up with the responsibility for whatever it is that we're drawing to us, you know. And it's just like, okay, I drew this little one to me. Well, along with that came major responsibility. You know, when you own an animal, you've got to spend money on it for food and vet bills and whatever else, you know, getting their nails clipped. But it's just major. You've taken on that responsibility. So, yeah. And be aware. When, you know, that's something I'm always thinking about is, okay, and rather than just constantly asking for something, it's like, okay, if I'm receiving this, then what all is entailed? What's involved? You know, what's my part in all of this? You know, and do I want it? Am I willing to accept that part? You know, and sometimes I am, and sometimes it's like, no, I don't want that bad enough to have to put out the fires that I'd have to.
Yeah, I think I remember you teaching me very early on that when I was setting my intention for something, you would say, okay, and the caveat is this or something better.
Yes, yes.
To not get too fixed. To not get too fixed on the image of it,
right?
But to hold it really lightly and know that that's just kind of a stand-in,
right?
According to my current consciousness of what I think I want.
Yes.
That there could be something much better, or maybe not that at all. Maybe something else.
Right. Because I do feel like it is imperative that we do not dictate to the divine. You know, because Source is all-knowing, all-wise, so much more powerful than we are. And we have to, you know, put it out there. It's like, may this or something better make its way to me. You know, like my good and my income are making their way through my door on a daily basis. You know, I think affirmations are really good. They're not the be-all and the end-all, but they're the beginning. They're a beginning. You know, I think gratitude and patting yourself on the back is the very beginning, and then affirmations, and then you continue and keep going. Right, like, what am I willing to allow into my life? You know, and what I find is on a daily basis, things keep coming to me, you know, which is just somewhere between magical and amazing.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
You know, And it's like today I got a bag of Linder's chocolates, milk chocolate. And I also got a jar of pickles. And no, I'm not pregnant. I'm too darn old. But it's like, well, thank you very much. Because one of my nurses is telling me pickle juice. Take a teaspoonful of pickle juice on a daily basis.
Oh.
That it does something for you. And I'll ask her again tomorrow, what is it that pickle juice does? Okay. And she's the one that brought me the pickles.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's funny. And I just did an audition a couple days ago where pickle juice was a major theme.
Really?
So there's some fun serendipity, the random phrase that, yeah.
That's funny. Why was it the major theme?
So I was auditioning for, there was a grandmother in the commercial who was obsessed with pickle juice.
Uh-huh.
And she wanted to hear stories about pickle juice.
Okay.
And so I was playing her daughter, like the mom of this little girl, and the little girl is like, can we read a story? And I'm like, oh, I guess only if it has to do with pickle juice, because Grandma loves pickle juice.
Okay.
Anyway, I don't random. Yeah, totally random.
Oh, how fun. How crazy.
Yeah.
But this life is crazy. It's just absolutely amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, there are symbols about, let's see, aligning with the divine, connecting with, the mind of the divine. So, aligning. So that's where, for me, it's my will be thy will.
Right.
Right, yes.
And isn't there like a progression? So there's the mantra, such as the Seiheki.
Correct.
And then it has the symbols that you draw
right
along with it.
Right.
But isn't there a progression into mastery symbols? Like there's some that are foundational and then you get to mastery.
Right. Yes. Well, and so mastery symbol is like daikomyo, and it's like, well, if I can read this in a book and I can watch it on a video and study it on a tape or something, why do I need a master? Why do I need a teacher?
Mm-hmm.
Well, when you think about it, it's just like if you're studying yoga, okay? You could learn yoga from the television, all right? And yet, it's so much more profound if you have an actual teacher who's been doing it for eons and who can assess whether you're doing correct posture, or is there anything that you're messing up, and just helping you through all of it. And the other thing is that I kind of slowly take my time as I attune people to different symbols. I don't just do weekend warrior routine, because that can really upset people's apple carts.
Mm-hmm.
Because things are going to transpire. Since we're working on all 4 body levels, mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual, we are going to be shifting and changing all of that. And humans have a hard time dealing with all of that at once.
Mm-hmm.
It would be like trying to learn all the yoga postures in one weekend.
Yeah. And then it would be very superficial.
Yes. And crazy making.
Yeah.
So yeah. And it's like this way, because life is going to change. Things are going to transform. They just do. Things shift and change. And one needs to kind of be able to adjust to those changes that are taking place.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Otherwise one can really get overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I remember you would teach me maybe 1 or 2 symbols. I want to say every 2 weeks or even every month or something.
Yeah.
And then you would give me assignments based on those symbols.
Right.
Of
Yes.
meditating on them, writing them, saying them.
Yes.
And it was like one at a time. So for instance, that second Seihei Ki that you were going into a bit about, when you walk into a space and you can feel that there's some kind of charge going on and you don't know what it is,
right,
that you don't need to figure out what it is, but
right,
going into, so I think you even had me draw it on the palm of my hand or on my leg or something,
right,
secretly.
Yeah.
And that by just focusing on the one symbol and really getting to know the energy of that symbol.
Absolutely.
And watching how the weeks in between our sessions would progress to just really give me opportunities to work on that symbol and experience the shift that happened through working on it. Yeah.
What sort of things have transpired in life that week?
Yeah.
And I would have people journal so that they could see the shifts and the changes that have taken place in their life. Because if we don't take the time to acknowledge and to see, then we just kind of like bypass it and don't even recognize that we've just had a major change. So that's pretty easy to do. And it's just like with the grats and pats, it's so easy to not bother.
Yeah.
And that's just exactly what happens when you don't bother, you don't notice, and you don't notice how wonderful your life really is. And the more that you concentrate on that, and the more you see that you've got white puffy clouds, that you've got sunshine, that you've got a blue sky, that you've got birds flying by, that the flowers are blooming, the more that you see, like, oh, that's beautiful. Or you've got squirrels running in a tree, and how fun is that? Let me take some peanuts and give to them, So it's like, okay, we've got to be open and awake, acknowledging, being awake.